Name's John Kamara. I'm a miscarriage of justice. I served 20 years. I was sentenced in 1981 in Liverpool. I did 19 years, just under 2 weeks short of 20. I got out in the Court of Appeal in March 2000.
What's it like to be innocent, going through the court proceedings?
Obviously it was like I was always protesting I was innocent. They were coming up with parole. I wouldn't go on parole interviews. I just fought my case. And I thought the only way I'm going to come out of prison is an innocent man through the Court of Appeal. I had an appeal in 1983. I lost that appeal. I then had a Home Office investigation, 1987, where another man admitted to doing a murder. I lost that Home Office investigation. My case was transferred to the Criminal Case Review Commission. And in April, I had an appeal 2000. In the Court of Appeal, it lasted 2.5 days, and they threw me out. They gave me £46. I had nowhere to live. I refused to leave the Court of Appeal until he found me accommodation. They brought the probation service down, and they told me the minute the Court of Appeal squashed your conviction, you're no longer a convicted prisoner, therefore you're no longer on probation, and we can't help you. They then said if I don't leave the building by 6 o'clock, I'll be arrested. I said, well, you might as well arrest me then. We then got a phone call, my lawyers did, from Paddy Hill from the Birmingham 6. He said, put him in a taxi and bring him to mine. And I went to stay with Paddy Hill for a couple of months. And then I started with Paddy doing miscarriages, going to talks, going to meetings. I was told by my lawyers I was getting compensation. I got the first incident payment was £75,000. Obviously I didn't know that money, I squandered it. I could phone up with my lawyer and I'd get another incident payment, and an hour later I got £60,000 put into my account. Obviously with my family I was trying to buy my affection. I would take my nephews, my nieces out, buy them loads of presents. I was just spending. Then in 2006, my lawyer says, John, you're getting compensation. This is an offer. We feel it was reasonable what we would have got you more. She said, but there's a clause in this offer. She said, now, we can't tell you to accept. It's your decision. But I've got to tell you now what they've offered and what the clause is. If you agree to the offer, you've got to sign a clause that the government will take out £75,000 for board and lodgings.
Can you explain what that is?
In the breakdown, they said if I was outside, I would pay rent, electricity, and gas, and food. Because I was in prison wrongly convicted, they charged me for rent, gas, electricity, literally board and lodgings.
Can I ask you something? How did that make you feel?
Angry.
Makes me right back.
bitter. But I was put in a situation, I wanted to refuse it. But I've had one child at the time, he was 2 years old. So I met a partner. She was pregnant with another child. And I was literally living off her wages, if you know what I mean. And it was sort of like an hour, I could have enough money to buy a house in London, no mortgage, go on holidays, and live well. I then explained to my partner, she said, John, it's your decision, you alone. I told my lawyer, and my lawyer said, but John, if you fight the board and lodgings, they will halt your money. That means you go to court, you go to a high court, then an appeal court, then Europe. If you win, they will appeal. If they win, you will appeal. But they will stop your legal aid. And they will take the money out of your compensation.
I find that crazy, you know, how the government can lock a man up in jail, innocent, they lock him away for years and years and years. They then force him to pay money for a debt that doesn't belong to him. And then even still after that, if you try to fight it, they then take the legal system away from you to help you fight that.
Yeah, obviously.
That is more corruption than I could possibly imagine.
I was at the time thinking, what they offer me, I could be well off. Don't forget, I didn't get benefits. Because when I came out, they said I wasn't entitled to benefits because I didn't pay any national insurance stamps.
The reason you never paid national insurance because you was in prison.
I was in prison.
Against your will.
Yeah.
Fighting for your freedom.
And we said, does this happen to guilty people? Do you charge them for being in prison? They said no, because they've accepted the crime and the sentence. But because we protest, not just me or other miscarriages, if we get an appeal, then they start saying, well, you're going to get compensation, but we want so much for board and lodgings. I didn't believe it. I was going, you must be joking. Board and lodgings? I actually pay for being in prison. 2 cases took it to the court, and we won in one court, and we lost in the European court. Now with the case this week, if he wins, if he gets his compensation, they may take board and lodgings out for him. So obviously, they get away with it. Some of us think, not asked, I'm out. Obviously, when we get compensation, and there's no, I didn't know the value of money.
Of course, you've been away such a long time, that's
Yeah.
totally understandable.
I didn't know you go into a shop. I mean, when I went away, there was no mobile phones.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. What was it like for you when you got out of prison after serving so many years in solitary confinement to start dealing with money?
Hard.
What was it like for you to hold a £50 note in your hand?
I didn't know £50 notes exist because it was only £5, a pound, 10 shilling. I know it sounds a bit. I think the most notes I've seen in 81 was a £20 note, and I thought, that fucker's got a job. Because obviously it was sort of like, my benefits in 1981 was £4.60. I've then put in a environment, I've come out, I couldn't, I always used to fall over when I crossed the road, because in prison, there's no curbs round an exercise yard. And I'd be walking with my partner and it'd be, oh fucking hell, bastard, who put that there? And I seem to, I used to treat people, waiters, like I was in prison. Where's my fucking meal? Hurry up and sorry, like, you know. My partner was thinking it was the anger. Because I was dumped out, literally dumped out. The probation service couldn't help me because they said the minute the judges squash the appeal, you're not on probation, so we can't help you.
Which I find is absolutely insane, because if you lock someone away for 16 years, you take all support away from them because they've lost that because
Yeah.
they're in jail. They then get let out into the community with no rehabilitation, which is crackers in the first place. You then got mental health.
Yeah.
You've got money management issues, so you wouldn't understand, like you said, finances would be very difficult.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there's another one as well. Because I got my compensation, they stopped my benefits. When I obviously with family, buying houses, I couldn't get benefits because they always say, well, what did you do with your compensation? Because they knew how much I got. I would say, it's got fuck all to do with you. I only got money when I became, unfortunately, a pensioner. I was worried that they would stop my pension. So obviously, that's what I live on now.
So, going back to when you was incarcerated, with the mental health side of things,
Yeah.
how did you cope when you got out of jail after such a long time in prison? How was your mental health when you actually got out?
I thought I was all right, to tell you the truth. Because I've seen people worse. I've seen people come out after 2 years and pass away. I believe they give up hope when they come out. Because it's not what we all expected. Get this, get that, you know. It was like sort of worse when we come out. Many times I used to sit in the park 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and think, I wish I was back in prison.
You know the transition from custody to free?
Yeah.
Finding yourself wanting to go back to prison, was that because it was easier in jail? Or was it because everything was just laid out for you?
I had, yeah, and I left a lot of friends.
Yeah, so you missed your friends as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was going to places with my partner, I would always say to them, to my partner, don't say anything about my case. Okay, John. But I found it difficulty when a person would come up and say, what do you do for a living? I'd panic. Or I'd say, you talking to me? Oh yes, I'll say, fuck off. And these are my partner's friends. But I didn't know that she told them. But I just felt maybe one embarrassed, thinking, are they going to watch me when I ask them to go to the toilet? And I shouldn't be thinking like that.
I understand that though, because I've been to prison and
Yeah.
I fully understand where you're coming from. I find that very similar as well. Even now, I own a production company and I'm in a far better place than I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be an active criminal.
I mean,
I don't like talking about my past.
yeah, but it's a past really I want to forget.
But yours is an innocent past.
Yeah, it's a past where I want to forget, but I feel like people should know it's still going on today. When I won my case, they were saying in the court, it'll never happen again.
It happens too regular.
Yeah, and I mean, as I explain to people, the fight starts when we do go in prison. And tell you the truth, it's like you're on your own. You see friends go out, you get moved. I spent nearly all my time in dispersal prisons, top prisons in the country.
just for the viewers at home, what would you describe to them what a dispersal prison is?
A dispersal prison, I would say, is something like, it's long term. You got to do certain, like 5 years and over. But I've been in prisons where it's just full of lifers. Because obviously in them prisons, people don't get out every week. You have to work. Sometimes I wouldn't work. I'd refuse. Then I'd go down a block, segregation, and I'd spend months and years in segregation. I spent 16 years in segregation.
So the only person I've heard of in this country, and that's the whole of the UK, that has served any sort of time like that in segregation is Charlie Bronson.
I was in prison with Charlie, obviously. He was in the seg. We met in different segs. Like, I used to always say in prison, I fancy a holiday this year. And I remember Charlie, where the fuck are you going, you cunt? And I went, I think I'll go to Hull. I like the weather in Hull.
HMP Hull?
Yeah, HMP Hull. And I'd get to Hull and I'd send letters back. Don't come up here. It's a shithole. And like, obviously, I had a little scheme, know what I mean? I'm getting fed up in Garcia or whatever, or Long Lawton or the island. Which is, I mean, the island park, you know,
Parkhouse, yeah.
Isle of Wight. I remember when they said to me, you go on the island. I'm like, no fucking island. Where? Alcatraz. Because obviously I'm up north, I'm a northerner, innit? And obviously I didn't even know where the island was. I remember getting transferred. I went on the national coach at the time. You go from prison to prison. Oh, I loved it, like a holiday. I was watching birds out the window. Oh, yeah, look at that one, you know.
But it's the only bit of freedom you
Yeah.
inside the prison walls, isn't it?
And I was thinking, why don't the coach crash, man, and I can run down the motorway, you know, give it a... But obviously, when I went to the island, that's when they said to me, you're on B-Wing, and you're on the 5, cell 16. So I walked up there with my kit. I've just come from the north now, and I'm thinking, this gaff's full of cockneys. I'm a Scouser, oh, yo, crap. And I remember, I seen this old fella leaning on the railing. I went, all right, mate. And he gone, all right, mate. I thought, oh, cockney cunt. You know, but I like, you know. And he went, just come in. I went, yeah, from Liverpool. He went, yeah, Scouser, eh? He went, do you like a cup of tea? I went, yeah, mate. He said, yeah, come in. So he's gone in his cell, I've gone in the cell. He said, sit down. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this fella's got a fucking budgie, man. He had this little green budgie and I'm thinking, if it fucking lands on me, I'm going to squash it, man. So he's gone, how many sugars? I've gone, 2 please. So he's given me 2. And I'm thinking, I see all these black and white photos. And I'm thinking, he looks a big cunt on that, them two. Them two look a bit, where have I seen this photo before? I didn't realise, I read it in a book. And then he went, yeah, that's me. He went, yeah, I'm Reggie Craig. I thought, shit. And he went, it's all right. He went, are you the Scouser fighting his case? I went, yeah. He went, keep fighting me. And then I heard this knock on the door. I'm thinking, who the fucking hell's that? And it was another Cockney. And he went, all right, Reg, mate. He went, oh, busy. And he went, yeah, new kid. He said, I'd like you to introduce. And he's introduced me to all these fellas. And they're all like so-called gangsters. And he went, oh, you're the one fighting the case, isn't it? I went, yeah. He went, keep at it, mate. He went, it's going to be a struggle. I remember going in the pad that and I thought, fuck me, I've got Reggie Cray next door. I don't want to knock one out. You know, the case he's like, but it was things like, but you know what? He was just a normal fella.
What's it like? So everybody in the community, in the
prison.
world outside of jail,
Yeah.
They think all criminals are bad. They think we're
Yeah.
all dirty people.
Yeah.
We're all criminals. We're the bottom end of society.
Yeah.
What was it like walking onto one of the most notorious wings in the country with the one of the most notorious gangsters in the country and being made a cup of tea by him?
It was like, I don't know, I didn't realise till later. And I said, look, the screw's shouting me, because I've heard this screw, Kamara, Kamara. I'm thinking, oh, fucking hang on. I said, look, he said, no, don't worry, lad. He said, what's your name anyway? I went, Johnny. He went, well, I'm Reggie, John. And he shook my hand, and I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell, I've just had my hand shaken by Reggie Craig. He was just, he was, I put it, he was my neighbour. He was all right. I used to say good morning to him in the morning. He'd say, good morning, Scout. How's your case getting on? I went, oh, you know, a couple of times. I said, oh, I'm fucking getting pissed off with this, Reggie.
So, going back to when you was doing a solitary confinement,
Yeah.
would you want to tell the viewers what it's like being in a solitary confinement for, just say, a period of a year?
That means I was banged up for 23 hours. I got, in them days when I went in there, if it was raining, I got 15 minutes exercise. And then obviously, I got 1 hour a day. I had, sometimes, because I used to perform, I had a cardboard chair, a cardboard table, a piss pot, a jug, and that was it really. And it was like 23 hours bang up.
For an innocent man, I find that so tragic that an
But
innocent
I thought really that was the only way I can do it, because if if I was on the wing, they'd go, oh, Kamara, Labour, fuck you and your Labour, I ain't working for no one. But I'd get nicked. So I'd say, well, you know what, I'll do it down the block, because they can't send me anywhere fucking farther than the block. And soon as I remember arrived in jails, and they'd go, come on, you're going on B wing. I go, I ain't going fucking nowhere. Next thing, they'll get the Mufti squad. I mean, yeah.
Do you want to explain for the viewers what the Mufti are?
The officers will come with shields, batons, and they've got like, I used to call them police helmets on. They think you're going to kick off. So you bring them, and obviously a couple of times I kicked off. A couple of times I got rushed. And then sort of like, two got your legs, two get your arms, threw into a padded cell. Then I started doing dirty protest.
Do you want to explain for the viewers what a dirty process is?
I would use, because you get a piss pot, it's like a baby's potty. I would fill it up with piss, leave it so it stinks, and then I'll start putting shit on the walls. I remember this screw, I hated him. I fucking hated him. And I thought, you're going to get it. And he opened the door once, and I jumped on him, and I put shit in his hair. And I said, go on, how do you feel now, you dirty bastard? I tried to plug it up his nose. I got dragged off, and I was laughing, and they've gone, he's flipped. I went, I ain't fucking flipped at all. I went, because this screw, he was about 23, ex-army. I used to call him a Nazi, and he was just a pure cunt. And I thought, you're fucking copping it, you're getting it, mate. Because he was threatening like, we'll come in and beat you up. I said, let's see if you fucking do. Because I thought, if I shit him up, others ain't going to touch me. Because they'll think, I ain't going to be next when I open that door. And he jumps on me and hugs me, and he's shiting all over my face and trying to get it in my mouth. And obviously that's the way. I remember Charlie said to me, one thing you do, Johnny, what's that? Shit him up. He fucking hates it.
What's it feel like for you? You know when you've got them?
Like I had power. Like, you fuck about with me and you'll get it. I even told the priest, which I shouldn't. He always used to come to me pad, and I used to say to him, oh, fucking hell, here become God Squad. And I said, what do you want, Father? And he said, oh, my daily rounds. And I said, I told you before, you come in my cell if you got a bit of snout. So obviously I mean snout is tobacco. And I used to send him up on the wing to get it off my mates. And he said, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Ah, it doesn't matter, Father. We'll all see it in church Sunday. And he'd come down, but he put it on the table like it was a mission. Are you sure you're... I said, look, give it here, Father. And I took it off it. And he went, any confession? I said, yeah, I've got confession to say. I said, you know the night woman officer? He said, I don't personally know her, but yes. I said, well, she watched me last night. And he said, well, obviously. I said, I was knocking one out. I said, my corset through the eye. I said, she was watching me, so I thought, I'm having a bit of this. So I went to the door, and we have these doors. You should put swinging doors now, in case you barricade up.
Right, they go both ways.
Yeah. And I said, get back here, you slut. I mean, obviously. And she said, I'm putting you on report. I went, here, I'll give you something to put me on report for.
What happened?
I knocked one out.
How did you get nicked for that though?
I got nicked.
What did you go in front of the adjudicator?
I went in front of the governor.
What was the process?
Well, he nicked me for not like indecent assault, but sort of like showing me parts to a female member of staff. I said, excuse me, Governor, I was knocking one out. I said, my mate next door gave me a fanny pack. And I said, Big Bertha from home turned me on. And I said, I couldn't stop. And she opened the fucking flap when I was on the vinegar strokes. And I thought, fuck you. And she was like, I didn't say it. I said, you did. You licked your lips. I said, I fucking seen it out the door. And the governor said, because she was saying, I didn't, Governor, I didn't. He stood there and he asked me to take her up there. But it was like a war, if you know what I mean. I'm going to think, I am going to make sure they talk about you in the officer's mess. And like, you know, the screws, because once I made that, oh, she was standing there when I was fucking knocking one out. Even if I'm lying, I knew them screws would give her loads. Oh, you like watching fucking willies, do you?
They'd have to investigate her, wouldn't they?
Yeah. And they'd say, Kamara, what's she watching? I said, boss, watching. She was licking her fucking lips at the sparrow, man. I said, never about what. And I said, I got on it. And I thought, I'll give you something to watch.
So what happened after that, with that situation?
He just sent me back and he said, I'll deal with this in a later date. And as I left the adjudication, she was saying, he's lying, Governor, he's lying. I said, no, fucking not. You fucking watch me, you dirty bitch. I mean, it's game and game. It's, you know, games and everything.
It's a fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fight.
We have to win. I understand that. It's
Yeah.
us against them and being an innocent man as well.
Yeah.
I would have been causing chaos in that.
Oh, I was causing chaos. I had a habit of putting elastic bands in the keels. Yeah. And I put this lassie band in the keel, and he was a dog of a screw, man. Fucking dog of a screw. And he's going like that. Get behind your door, Kamara. Whatever. I'm just getting rolly. And as he's come, I said, open the fucking door then, will you, our ass? And as he's put the key in and gone like that, the lassie bands have wrapped round, he couldn't get his key out. I went, open the fucking door, what are you doing? And he's going, can I have an officer up here? I went, look, I haven't touched him, man. I said, I want to go in myself. They come in, they have to get the weights in. They have to literally take the door off. And I was saying, you know, look, boss, it's 9 o'clock, mate. And obviously, I used to do things like that. But I was against the system, you see.
I fully understand that. I remember a similar situation that when I was in jail. One Christmas, I went and done it to every fucking cell on the wing.
Yeah.
And they had to change, I think it was like 20, I think, locks on the wing. So
I remember Christmas when the nuns used to come round. And I used to think, oh my God, the fucking penguins down the wing. Like, obviously, she come in my cell. But my mate said I was paving off her. But I wasn't. I mean, it's sort of like, I was trying to get tobacco off her. You know what I mean? And then I said, listen, do us a favour. She went, what's that, John? I said, do us a phone call. I said, I'll give you the number. I said, could you tell my mate to come up? I thought she was going to do it. But she blew me up. Yeah, reported me. So when I'm on adjudication, I said, she's a liar. I said, there's 3 people who knew what was said. I said, and I'd like to call him as a witness. And they've gone, who's that? I said, obviously I was there, she was there. I said, but she hasn't said who the other person was. And she said, there was no one there. I said, there was. And the governor said, who? I said, is Almighty. And he went, what? I went, is Almighty, the Lord. I said, in the Bible, I'm reading the Bible. So if she said the Lord wasn't there, I said, I'd like a special letter so I can write to the Pope. And he went, I think we better, I'm adjourning it. Not nothing like. But they're things what I was doing, thinking,
it's tit for
about,
tat,
yeah.
to make us feel slightly stronger. And I applaud you for going down that road, because if it was me, I would have probably never got out, mate.
I mean, obviously that was the only way I thought I could fight the system as well, to prove to them, because I was thinking, if I was in power, I would think, well, hang on, this guy's been fighting now for 15 years. Something's got to be wrong.
You know, going back to when you got convicted, what's it like standing up in court, you're in the dock, and then the jury come out and they deliver a guilty verdict?
Obviously, we went through the trial.
Do you remember what them feeling? Because I can understand.
Yeah, I can remember if it was like yesterday. Obviously, I got abuse by members of the public.
How did your head feel?
My head was just, once that jury said, like, for murder, guilty, I remember it's sort of like the dock in the bar hit me in the chest. That's when the abuse started, the racial abuse started. I heard them say, can we have more police officers in court? They were literally trying to attack me in the dock.
And you're an innocent man.
Yeah, but obviously the Suffield family, they went on the evidence what we produced in court.
Of course, because they would believe the system.
Yeah,
The system, they would believe that the system is justified.
It was only, I remember when my lawyer said to me in the after the TV programme Trial and Error, she said, John, the Suffields are supporting you. I went, I ain't interested in the Suffields. Because in my mind, I could still see him calling for the death penalty when I got found guilty. Then when I seen him, I met him, I didn't really want to meet him, to tell you the truth, because I remember the abuse my mother got. He stood there, and it was sort of like, you asked me to be executed, mate, and now you want to be talking to me? I did meet him, to tell you the truth, at the end, the TV.
What was that like for you, meeting him? And you finally actually met him face to face.
I felt sorry for him because he had been lied to by the police, by the state, by the courts, and he believed what he said. It was only when the programme, when Trial and Error went to see him and showed him the story, him and the family then started to support me. But I was like, it's a bit too late now, mate, isn't it?
Going from that transformation from being incarcerated for many, many years, where are you in your life now? How are things progressing for you now?
Obviously, I've got 2 children. One's going to hopefully law school, one's working. I'm more into aftercare for miscarriages, and I'll come to meetings like obviously today and support people because I know what they're going through and I know what the proceedings going to be, what obstacles they're going to put in front of them, because they do it all the time. They put obstacles in front of you.
If you could give someone some words of encouragement that you know has just been locked up for a miscarriage of justice, what would you tell them?
Keep fighting, because one day you will get justice, but you've got to find it, keep fighting. It's hard, believe you me, it's hard, because you're, as far as the system's concerned, you're guilty. And if you keep protesting your innocence, you're not getting out. Because they say it. When I was getting parole reports, this is going on for 15 years, he denies being involved, he won't talk, so therefore the Home Secretary says, you're not ready for release. And that's another 4 years. And then obviously, they try to break you. I have met people in prison who were wrongly convicted and they broke them. They got the family to break them. He can be out in 6 months. He's just done 15 years. He can be out in 6 months. And I suppose it's hard for a person who's got a family because them kids are all grown up now. He's seeing grandkids. I did meet some people and they were saying to me, I'm sorry, John. I just said, no, it's up to you.
If you could make the system better, how would you do it?
Well, obviously, you'd have to, in my mind, is go through the whole system, starts from the police. If a person says he didn't do it, look into it good. Courts. I noticed a lot of miscarriages who I was in prison with, we all had the same, nearly enough the same against us prisoners. I had 5 prisoners against me saying that I confessed to them in prison.
Do you think they did that so they could go to the police, get themselves out of jail to try and save their own neck?
A couple of them admitted it in court, they didn't want to go to prison. They came to court and said I was racist. Like, oh, Kamara said he's only some dirty white fucking betting shop manager. And I'm like that in court. I'm not racist. I've got a white mother. I'm not racist. They used every trick in the book to get a conviction. Once you get the conviction, they're like, I was thinking, it's going to take me a 10 stretch to fucking get out. 3 years for an appeal. If I lose the appeal, try to get the Home Office to investigate. I mean, my years started going into 14 years, 15 years, 16 years. Then when I got to the Criminal Case Review Commission, I didn't trust them. Because I thought, you're just the Home Office. Then when they give me an appeal, I had to do the phone call on the 26th of April 1999 for a decision if I get an appeal or I died in prison. Or I died in prison. Now obviously I got the appeal. That's when I started to panic. What have I got it for? Why have they sent me? Until my lawyer came up and said, you've been two real things, is the ID parade, or the guidelines were broken, and non-disclosure. I said, what do you mean non-disclosure? They withheld over 200 odd statements from your defence. And I went, what? So obviously I started to panic, because I'm thinking, this is what I've been fighting for now. But reality was kicking in. How am I going to cope? Because don't forget, in my head, all my family were all young. When I came out, they're all men, women, got kids. And I'm thinking, I've got so many nephews.
All your family are
Yeah.
growing up, the kids have got bigger.
When
your life has
obviously
changed.
I found it hard because I remember my favourite sister was 10 years old. I think she was like 14. When I came out, I'm talking to a 34-year-old woman, and I see these kids running about, and she introduced me to her husband. I said, can I have a word with you, mate? And he went, yeah, Johnny. I went, yeah, in the garden. So he goes out, because in my head, she's still 14. And I'm thinking, you nonce. So obviously, I told him about it. And he looked shut. He said, John, we're married, mate. And he's trying to call my sister out. And she come out and she said, what's going on? And he went, tell her. I went, I never knew you had so many kids. I said, in my head, you're still 40. And she said, no, John, look, I think we need to sit down and I'll talk to you. And I was like, I was getting treated like a kid. And it was sort of like, okay, I'm sorry. But does my mum know? And she said, John, my mum died years ago.
Did your mum pass away when you was in jail?
Yeah.
So sorry.
What it is, I usually get birthday cards, Christmas cards, and Easter cards. One day, March the 8th, is my birthday. So I've gone out, from the block and to get me tea, me dinner, and they're giving mail out. And I've gone, I usually get a birthday card and a tenner. I mean, and I've gone, yeah, for me candy, and I've gone, any mail? Yeah, a couple of MP letters, fuck them. But no birthday card. I'm thinking, okay, it might come in the 4 o'clock post. So I'm sitting there, not knowing anything, and then the door opens. In comes the priest. And I'm looking in his hand, and he's got a white paper. But he sort of, was nervous. And I've heard all the mufti come on the wing, thinking, so he says, John, I went, yes, Father. He's got a bit of news. So I'm thinking, well, he hasn't come in and telling me I'm going to fucking court. And he said, I'm sorry, but your mum's passed away. So I takes the paper. Now don't forget, this is March the 8th. I've gone, excuse me, Father. My mum died January. And I went towards him. And he ran out the cell. And I thought, don't kick off. So I said, I got on the bell, the PO come, I went, read that. He went, oh my God. He went, look, come and do a phone call. So I phoned my sister. She's gone, hello, who's this? I've gone, me, Johnny. Oh my God. She went, you dirty bastard. You no good. You know. So anyway, they said, we're going to do an investigation. And the investigation result was, they got the message. They said, we got the message. It was taken down on the 29th. But the person who took it down put it on the desk. The cleaner come in, opened the window, and the wind blew it into the waste paper basket. So obviously, I said, well, you know what, obviously I can't do nothing about it. And I thought, you know what, if I kick off, that's what they want. But my mother wouldn't want it. So I just carried on really fighting the case.
How did you deal with that?
Well, I thought, she's gone, so I've got to fight her.
I feel like giving you a hug, mate. Honestly, I feel like
Me too.
I'm not even joking.
Yeah, but obviously, this is, how can I say it? This is what I went through. And I was thinking, are they doing this to break me?
Possibly. If you could give any man in jail, see, I've been in a similar situation to you. I lost my grandfather in jail. For me, the reason for I couldn't go to that funeral was because they said that I was going to escape.
Escapee,
I
yeah.
was an escape risk, I was getting out of jail in 2 weeks. I'm
Oh,
not going to
shit.
escape from nothing. So
Yeah.
No, you need to film it. So we basically, that's happened, and I understand they've done that to gauge a reaction.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be out. They don't want us on road.
Yeah.
So, if you was giving anybody any sort of hope or giving them some sort of encouragement, people that are going through that in jail or people that have lost anyone in jail, what sort of advice would you give them to?
If the so-called fighting the case is just keep fighting, and I found really it made me fight more. It made me more determined. Because I thought, I'm fighting on my own now. Do you know what I mean? So obviously it made me fight more. And I just knew. But it was strange actually, because when I went to the appeal court, I don't know, but I had the feeling that my mother was with me. And it may sound, I don't know, it was strange. Because I always looked at this spot. You know, it's hard to explain. Like on the bench. And I always, for some reason, my lawyer said, why are you always looking at that spot? I said, I'm not being funny, but I believe that's where my mum sat. I don't know, maybe it was going through my head, I don't know.